games, you take players who are key components to the rest of your season, and you put them on the bench like you do on that fourth week of preseason. You don't put Russell Wilson out there with the potential of getting hurt. Now, I understand.
Small correction, though. This game does count towards your record, so it's not an exhibition game. You might think it's like one, but it counts towards your record.
It does count for a record, but the record doesn't mean anything if it's 11-5 or 10-6. It makes no difference in a case like this. So there's no point in risking losing a potential player that could crush your potential for the playoffs. You don't do that in week 4 of the preseason. Why would you do it in week 17 of the regular season?
Because it's the regular season and you're heading into the playoffs, and you're not even accounting. Look, if your player's going to get hurt, fate has already determined your player's going to get hurt. It's either going to happen on the field or when he steps out of his car to go check the mail. If that guy's getting hurt, he's getting hurt. There's nothing you're going to stop it. If fate has designated him to be hurt, he's hurt. So whether he plays or not, that's how it's going to go down.
So you're saying that fate is all of this whole equation, whereas you're testing fate by leaving somebody in.
I'm not saying it's all of the equation. I'm saying you either go big or you go home. You play a sport of football. You're in it for pride, to win. These guys are playing their hearts out no matter what kind of game it is, and you put them out there every single game. That's what the sport of football is. To do anything else lessens it and cheapens it, turns it into some sort of a chess match, which coaching really is to some extent, but you put them out there every single time. It's not in that. That is just, not only is it disrespectful, but it's just weak. You go big or you go home, and that's how I feel. And I know you're the opposite. You're kind of meek and timid, and that's okay. I get that's how you are, and you want to play meek and timid, and that's fine. You're kind of mousy like that.
I concur that you do need to put these guys out there for at least a series and let them stay fresh, stay coordinated, stay in sync. Like right now, we'll use the Seattle Seahawks again. They are playing lights out on offense. They are playing so freaking well, and the last thing I want to do is to lose.
Another team. Okay, I cannot hear you blow Russell Wilson this whole show.
Let's talk
You've
about
been
the
doing
Kansas
it the
City
whole
Chiefs.
time that I've been gone, and no one said a word. I'm sure they just guzzled it up right along with you. So let's focus somewhere else.
Let's talk about the Chiefs, Sid, for example. Okay, if they clinch a playoff spot, and let's say the Broncos win this week, in which case they cannot at that point win the AFC West. And do you really want to see your best players out there for 4 quarters? Let's say Chris Peters, because you remember what happened. Marcus Peters. Let's take a look at what happened last week in Arizona. The Honey Badgers out there in the 4th quarter, they're up by 25 points, and then he tears a freaking ACL. Arizona is the number 2 seed in the NFC and one of the best teams in the NFL, but they lost a huge component to that going into next game. That and for the rest of the season. Now they have a huge weakness in their defensive secondary, and they're not going to have that strong defensive stop ability that they have. He was essentially like a captain on that field. He lined people up. He told people where to stand. He saw the whole field, and he is that field general for that secondary, but he's no longer there. And that gives teams like the Seahawks, I got to throw it in, a chance for an opportunity. And I love that, but I don't want my guys doing that. I don't want my team doing that. And if anybody, let's hear it. Let's throw this poll out there. 77948. Type the word text, space, and then your message. I want to see it for rest, if you believe you should rest a player, or play, if you feel that the player should play.
Yeah. Okay.
And let's talk secondly about you said the losing mentality. I tend to agree with that because I believe in the philosophy that you don't want to go into the playoffs after winning like 7 straight with another loss. You don't. You really don't. But at the same time, you don't want to go in with a huger loss of like being down a first string quarterback or a first string running back or an integral piece of that particular team.
That's playing timid. If you play scared, in fear of what will happen, you will miss everything in life. And I don't think, and it starts one place and it filters into everything else. Don't play that way. And I hope Bruce Arians, I don't think he's going to be like that. I think Seattle gets a decent game. And I certainly, hope we see games continue towards the end of the season.
Well, and I can assure you, I don't believe that any team is not going to play a particular player unless they're banged up. And that's another thing. If a player is banged up, I'm not talking like the type of banged up where he can't play, but where rest for the playoffs would suit that player very well, why not sit the player and let him recover from a particular injury that's nagging him and then keeping him from playing at 100%? That's a different story.
If you're hurt, I understand. That makes sense. If you're hurt, like Justin Houston, nagging injury, you do want him at some point to be able to come back and play. But a perfectly healthy player, no, you don't sit him.
Yeah, exactly. But, well, I disagree with that completely because, I mean, we have them out there for a little bit. Keep them fresh, keep them ready, keep them moving, keep them steady. But don't have them out there too much. So far we got three people who said rest. No people who've said play. Keep the text coming in. Really enjoying it.
Let me let you know something. I enjoy the text, but I don't care if anyone's on my side here. I continue to stand by go big or go home. I know you think you put forth a good argument. The fact of the matter is most people live in fear and they live scared and they're trying to outmaneuver the other person. I don't think so. If you win a football game, it's because you go out there and you play better than the other team. You man up and you show up. And there's not a lot of those people left in the world, unfortunately. That's why we see all the stuff happening that we do. That's why we see things like the Seahawks being popular, because that's the reality of the world these days.
I'm not sure how the Seahawks being popular relates. Can you draw the conclusion?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the majority of the people in the Northwest?
I saw 750,000 of them attend a Super Bowl
Seattle in particular?
Yeah, I used to live up there. I'm from the Northwest. I'm one of those guys.
A bunch of Sallys. Okay. That's it. Frankly, yeah. A bunch of Sallys.
Well, actually,
a bunch of tight jean, coffee drinking hipsters.
Yeah, they are full of hipsters, just like Austin,
skinny
Texas.
Jeans.
But listen, here's the thing, right? Is that Pete Carroll actually believes like you do in this case. He really does, and I worry.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I worry that with that mentality, that we are going to possibly have another unfortunate injury. I don't want to see a player like Doug Baldwin go out and roll an ankle and
or
we'll
Russell
have to be
Wilson.
Out 4 weeks. Or Russell Wilson.
What if he tears his ACL? Oh, God.
Bobby Wagner.
Seattle would be crying themselves to sleep for the next year.
Do you really think
so great.
Do you really think Tavares
so
could do anything in the playoffs? Do you think Tavares Jackson would? I mean,
no,
really?
God,
exactly.
No.
So
I would never root for anyone to get hurt. But I got to tell you, when the Seahawks lost that game last year, and I was having a bad day, I would go onto YouTube and I would put on that video of the Seahawks the Seahawks fans' faces when that guy intercepted it, right? So there was people videoing like Super Bowl watch
about
parties.
The Super Bowl, and when Malcolm Butler picked off Russell Wilson at the 0-yard line, knocking Ricardo Lockett onto the ground doing it. And Richard Sherman's with his big old nostrils flaring up and looking like somebody just grabbed him by the nuts.
No, and then here's what the video was. It wasn't the video of the Seahawks players. It was videos of Seahawks fans at watch parties and their reaction to the interception. And they were just like, oh, and they like threw themselves down and some were throwing and breaking. It was so great. When I was in a bad mood, I would put that on and it would instantly cheer me up.
Do you know how hard could you imagine your team going through that? Empathize for just a few moments what that would feel like to you.
My team can't get out of the first round of the playoffs, so if they made it to the Super Bowl, I would be stoked. Okay.
Not if it ended that way, though. I mean, it's that.
Yes, I don't care how it ends. I got to watch them the rest of the season, and then they went to the Super Bowl. Good or bad, I don't care how it ends. That is, I would take that. Yes,
see, listen to that. Listen to that, guys.
If it was take an interception at the end of the game to lose or not go to the Super Bowl, I would take the interception.
See, listen to what Matt just said, the guy who says go big or go home. He says second place is enough for me because that would mean that
No,
I
that
would
is
have
going
be
big or going home. You're saying, that's like taking your ball and going home. Well, if I'm not going to win, I don't even want to go. No, I would much rather go and compete and play hard in the Super Bowl, even if it meant a loss, than not go at all. Don't try and trip me up, bro. I'm straight on with the same things that I got going on and the way that I believe in that mentality. Nice try.
Second place. We're number 2. Go get them, Matt. And
That's what the Seahawks said.
That's what
when they
we're
lost.
actually trying to occur here, guys. And for those who are listening, we have the opportunity of becoming a most viral of all radio shows out there right now, as Matt and I have a wager that is going to have to increase. Matt, your team has been on a roll, my team has been on a roll, and the first one to lose is supposed to shave their head. But in the case that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks end up in Super Bowl 50, what is the wager at that point?
I think we go to a tattoo, right?
Yeah.
We step it up a notch.
So,
loser gets a tattoo of the other team's emblem.
Even better. The loser gets a Super Bowl 50 champion with the logo of the other team's logo.
Okay.
With that Super Bowl 50 champion, not in a completely obscure place.
No, here I'll make it even one better for you.
Not on a forehead or something.
The winner of the bet gets to pick the place, and not, of course, not on your face, right? You have to have jobs, and not on my neck. Like I'm not going to go into work.
And nothing too painful. I've never had a tattoo, so if I were to go through that, I
perfect. I'm going to let you do it on the
my
inside of your inner arm. That'll be perfect.
Oh no! That's too painful. Not picking the place, but it's got to be in a place that's not so obscure that only your wife will ever see it. So in other words, I'm not going to allow you to have a 1 inch by 1 inch tattoo on your penis shaft of the Seattle Seahawks. It wouldn't work. So we're gonna we're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. If the Seattle Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs meet in the Super Bowl, with all the listeners out there in Radioland and all the people who are going to pull this podcast off the air to listen to it, as this inevitable situation could occur. I feel really good about this just because, and we kind of talked about this, I would much rather be the Chiefs. Right now the Chiefs are looking at whether they get into whether they beat the Broncos. They might actually win the AFC West. I can't even believe we're talking about that. But that could happen, or they get the 5th seed. Either way, in the AFC path to the Super Bowl, the Bengals and the Patriots. That's really and the Broncos. That's really who you're looking at. We've already beat the Broncos. We trounced the Patriots last year. Those teams seem formidable, but not unbeatable. In the AFC, Arizona, not unbeatable, but a tough team, well-rounded on offense and a great defense. And then Carolina. It seems that the road to the Super Bowl for the Seahawks seems a lot more precarious than the road to the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. Granted, the Seahawks have done it before. They have a history. They can play under pressure, and the Chiefs haven't proven that they can do that. So, that's the other side of that coin. But just purely looking at the teams you got to face, it seems like I'm confident that the Seahawks at least are going to have to play out of their minds on the road to get there, versus the Chiefs, who could feasibly, actually play some teams that I think we could beat. Well, and you're right about the road to the playoffs for the Seattle Seahawks. As right now, with the New England Patriots and all the injuries they're occurring, with the Cincinnati Bengals, all the injuries they're occurring, and the Denver Broncos, all the injuries that they're occurring, you basically have a match unit that you have to walk through to get to the playoffs in the AFC. Whereas in the NFC, we have Carolina, Arizona, and then the surging
and
Seattle
Green Bay.
Seahawks. And Green Bay.
Green Bay
good point,
as well.
Good point. But
not playing amazing.
Topical, right? Yeah,
they're kind of Green Bay seems to me like the Patriots or the Bengals, right? A team that you think, hey, the Seahawks could go into that game going, yeah, I think we could win this game. It's not unreasonable to think we could go in feeling confident that we're at least going to very well play with them. That'd be hard. The Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals, especially after Arizona already beating them once, tough to go into there with a lot of confidence thinking you're going to beat either one of those teams.
It's true. It's true that it is much more of an uphill battle for the Seattle Seahawks than it is the Kansas City Chiefs in this case. But with that, it is time for break. Guys, when we come back from break, we are going to be talking fantasy football. Plus, for the first time ever, tonight we are going to be playing a brand new game. And that game is called Name That Year. Now, here's the beauty of this game is that you're going to be able to play either live or podcast. But at the end of the month, we are going to select one person who will win a $50 gift card for playing. So with that, we'll catch you.